facial hair and you go, oh, that's Hassan.
Treated with party chairman Mao Zedong, gave speeches declaring his friendship with China and opposition to America, and returned to Japan wearing Mao's signature outfit. Asanuma wasn't just a radical, he was popular. Famous for his shabby dress and for living in public housing his whole life, Asanuma connected with the public about as well as Kishi repulsed it. By contrast, if a Mao suit and shabby clothes defined Asanuma's radicalism and appeal, wire-rimmed glasses and double-breasted suits defined the LDP's new leader, Kishi's Minister for International Trade and Industry, Hayato Ikeda. This was the uniform of a graduate of an elite school, an economist, and a finance minister. Hardly the look of a man destined to repair the party's elitist reputation. But it wasn't just Ikeda's clothing that seemed to doom his odds. Indeed, his party had chosen him because he was thought to be an empty shirt, someone with no real base of support within the party who could stand in until the impending election determined the better man for the job. After all, Ikeda's career was littered with political missteps. Back in 1950, he'd infamously suggested that Japan's poor should cope with high food costs by eating more cheap barley and less expensive rice, prompting comparisons to Marie Antoinette. Worse still, Ikeda had been Trade and Industry Minister once before in 1952, but had lasted less than a month after he was quoted in the press remarking coldly, "Even if 5 or 10 small businessmen commit suicide, it can't be helped." Asanuma, the everyman, couldn't have asked for a better opponent. But he had more than Ikeda to contend with. On October 12, 1960, Inejiro Asanuma stood on stage for a debate inside this building in Tokyo, with Ikeda seated a few feet away in the front row. Millions were watching on TV when suddenly a man rushed on stage and seemed to collide with Asanuma. He wielded a wakizashi, a kind of short sword, and as he lunged at Asanuma a second time, he was tackled to the ground. But it was too late. The assailant's first strike had been
another fucking gay incel fascist doing just, you know, gay incel fascist shit. Typical Nazi behavior. Uncensored on Patreon, ain't no way. I mean, yeah, listen. Big homie's got to make money somehow, okay?
Deep blow through the ribs. Asanuma died within minutes. It was Japan's first political assassination since the war. The killer was a 17-year-old right-wing radical who would hang himself in jail a few weeks later after scrawling, "Long live the Emperor," on his cell wall in toothpaste. Most believed the murder would
this isn't Mishima. You're right. I was thinking of this is a different incel fascist loser. You're right. Hey, not all the gay incels are fascists. Well, in Japan they are. That dude who capped Shinzo Abe a fascist? No. The dude who capped Shinzo Abe. The dude who capped Shinzo Abe is just like kind of crazy. The dude who killed Shinzo Abe was crazy. He was a veteran, but I don't think he was like I don't think that he was what do you call it? I don't think that he was like a fascist or anything. He just had like a very clear-cut political goal, which was anti-Mooney, wanted to possibly anti-Korean in general, but definitely anti-Mooney, and wanted to kill Shinzo Abe for allowing the Korean cult to operate alongside the CIA inside of Japan. His mother was a follower, a cult follower, and lost all of her money to the cult. And, you know, he saw Shinzo Abe as directly responsible for this cult operating inside of Japan. And he also was like, you know, you might not agree with his methods. It seems like the Japanese population certainly did agree with him. Ultimately, his cause wasn't unjust. Like, he wasn't wrong for being like, why is this fucking CIA-backed Korean cult operating inside of Japanese boundaries? Like, why are you letting that happen? It fucked my mom's life up. You are fucking responsible. Which, by the way, was a commonly held opinion in the nation of Japan pretty much immediately after this political assassination. It's probably one of the most politically consequential and overall most successful assassinations, political assassinations of our lifetime. Like, I don't know what the comparison would look like. It would literally be like, obviously this is wee hypothetical, not saying that this is the case, not saying you should do this, but like, if someone, I don't even want to say Joe Biden because people are going to clip this and like fucking get me in trouble. So let's say back in the day, if like someone assassinated, I don't know, Donald Trump, right? And at a time when he had like 30% approval rating, they assassinated him specifically because they just hated that he was JFK seems like a safe choice. No, I'm just like thinking of like I don't know, something that they hated. They were like, dude, you wanted to fucking abolish Obamacare. We want Medicare for all. Why are you standing against Medicare for all? And they fucking assassinated him. And then like literally a week later, Congress decided to pass legislation, and that legislation was Medicare for all. That's basically what happened with Shinzo Abe. Like, that's what ended up happening with Shinzo Abe. Basically, like, basically what ended up happening is like, he literally was like, I'm killing you because of your involvement with the Moonies. And then like a month or so later, first they were like, should the public even fund his funeral? Like, that was a point of contention. People were literally like, nah, I don't think the public should fund his funeral. Like, why are we doing that? Fuck that guy. Which was crazy. That was like my first foray into Japanese politics being kind of weirdly cool, where they were just like, yeah, no, we shouldn't fund his public funeral. And also then very shortly after, they investigated the fucking Moonies and have been shutting it down. He was already out of power, but he was the longest, I think he was the longest running PM. He was out of power at the time, but he was like literally at a campaign rally. Yeah, plans to place a memorial at the site of Shinzo's assassination were discarded. It is pretty crazy. It's just not heard of in any. It's not heard of in any modern context, I would say. But yeah, he was stumping. He was out doing a stump speech when he got fucking stomped on, if you know what I'm saying.
Support for the socialists, both for reasons of sympathy and because it reinforced the fear which spread under Kishi's leadership, that behind the LDP, in the shadow of Japan's right wing, lurked violence and terror. However, just days after Asanuma's death, Ikeda stood before the Diet to give a speech, where many expected characteristically direct and concise remarks, where Kishi might have even made a campaign speech. Ikeda shocked his colleagues by delivering an impassioned eulogy for Asanuma, reciting the lyrics from one of his 1920s.
Yeah, famously at the time I said, this was one of the few instances where like Japanese xenophobia and anti-Korean racism kind of was like used for good against the Moonies, like specifically. Like, it's one of those very, very weird moments where like it's like an incredibly, incredibly rare racism W, because the Japanese are very racist in general, but specifically against Koreans, which is kind of wild because it's like, bro, you literally fucked them over. Like, why are you still carrying this grudge? Like, you're the ones who did all this fucked up shit to them, and yet you're still like xenophobic towards them. That's wild as hell. But I guess then you think about it and it's like, well, that's exactly how white supremacy works in America against black people. like you have resentment towards black people even though like you enslaved them. That seems very weird to me. Like, if anything, the only resentment should be from black people towards white people, but that's just how racism works. They don't admit the fucked up shit they did in Korea. Yeah, exactly. So ultimately, this was a very unique moment in Japanese history, I would say, where like their unimaginable amounts of anti-Korean sentiment kind of worked in the favor of like dismantling this operation backed by the CIA in Japan.
His campaign songs and commending his colleagues' commitment to the public good. His words left many in tears.
Yeah, Zainichi Koreans were literally there for longer than the occupation of Korea in the 1900s, and they still hate them.
But this wasn't just a one-off performance. The storming of the Diet had been traumatic. The death of a protester, tragic. But seeing a colleague stabbed to death mere feet away, that changed Ikeda. Gone were the wire-rimmed glasses and double-breasted jackets. He adopted chunky plastic frames and simple suits. The clothes of a man who no longer considered himself above the people.
Yeah, he had a change of heart.
Nor was Ikeda's transformation limited to a new outfit. He now fully grasped the gravity of Japan's political chaos. He saw how Kishi's confrontational winner-take-all politics had taken his country to a very dark place. Politics was too existential, too polarized, too violent. In his campaign, Ikeda sought to bring himself closer to the people, touring the country to discuss food prices, unemployment, and other kitchen table issues, promising, if elected, to double Japan's national income within a decade and to abstain from the golf and lavish geisha parties so beloved by his predecessor.
It worked. In the 1960 election, the LDP gained a number of seats as Japan's left wing shrank. More importantly, Ikeda kept his...
I think the other part of this conversation that is understandably not being discussed in a video that's only 26 minutes long, and this is my understanding of what happened with the Japanese Socialist Party and the Japanese Communist Party in general, is that like the left was unimaginably divided. Well, I guess not unimaginably divided. The left was expectedly incredibly divided in Japan along the same exact boundaries that you see everywhere else historically. You had you basically had like a kind of peasant class, not directly a peasant class, but like kind of like a peasant class, but rural communism versus the more elitist or the children of elites, like the educated communist divide that that played a big role in dividing and inevitably leading to like the revolutionary communists that wanted to maintain a revolutionary and oftentimes violent structure, a violent form of resistance, versus like people who are more social democrat adjacent, and that divide obviously also led to the purge of the revolutionary side, and yeah. And then the rest is history. Now you have, we are na 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 na. The Japanese Communist Party now does anime trailers for themselves. Here, I'll show you. Where is it? It kind of goes hard. I'm not gonna lie. Like, this is what happens when you become a revisionist. This is what happens when you become a revisionist party. like it's such a dense leftist meme. This is why I say leftism is a universal principle, just like fascism, where like no matter where you go in the world, if you see someone who is a leftist, one, there's going to be infighting. There's going to be purity spirals too. And last but not least, the third foundational principle, which is you are going to have a person try to rap. We must raise the minimum wage to 1,500 yen, and we must have half-price university specialized tuition, licensed nursery school for 300,000 children, significant reduction in national health insurance premiums. Hasanami meets up with Japanese communists March 1st, 2023. Oh, this is sick though. Musica. Okay, they're not they're anarchists first of all, and as classic anarchists, fucking no working ass anarchists, of course they were closed, even though it said they were supposed to be open. Y anticapitalismo. I mean, there is a robust. I mean, one of the most effective ANCOM states, I guess if you want to call it that, is this is the Zapatistas. So it does not surprise me that they're ANCOMs. Oh, fuck. Oh god. The anti-Marxist police are here. The thought police. These were my favorite glasses that I lost them at fucking I didn't even lose them. Like I literally left them accidentally at Border Patrol in Mexico. So stupid. I don't know. I should get them again. They're like Muscat or something. We just like kind of wait until see. Well, there was places that were kind of open. Like some of the bars were open. I knew that there is no way that there's. I just got back from Japan yesterday. I'm quite sad to be back in Texas. When are you going to go back to Japan? Yeah, honestly, I think we should. You know how there's like a Paris syndrome, most often. Felt by like Japanese and Chinese citizens that go to Paris and realize that like shit kind of sucks. There is a Tokyo syndrome. I swear to God, you come back to wherever you live from Tokyo, you will feel sad. Like instantly. As soon as I arrived, I never feel this way. When I come back from any foreign nation, I come back to the land of the free, it's fucking eagles screeching in my ear. I'm like, hell yeah, baby. Fucking freedom time. My dick gets hard thinking about how our brave soldiers out there are fighting to make sure that we have free speech here, right? Whereas when I come back from Japan, I'm like, oh, I'm so sad. This shit sucks. Like, think about it. Will Neff is the most American guy, the most pro-America man on the fucking planet, okay? He loves America. Down to the core, okay? And yet, when he came back from Japan, he was so sad to be in such a mid-ass country. Shanghai will blow your mind. Download Alipay before you go. This is the same chatter who I think earlier was talking about how, I need a burner phone. Japan is Wakanda for white people. It is kind of Wakanda for white people, but also you have to remember it's like white boy Wakanda, but also like it is also one of the few places on the planet where like white people will, if they stay there for an extended period of time, will experience like anti-white racism, which weirdly enough is not very Wakanda. You know what I mean? When you think about it, not that it matters ultimately. Japan is starting to be like, okay, too many foreigners after running into one Karen. Yeah. Flights to Japan are so fucking much post-COVID. I went to Japan round trip for $800. Yeah. You offset that by going to Japan where with $1 you can buy like 8 Gucci bags or something. I don't know what's going on with their currency. But like flying into Japan, incredibly expensive. Everything else after that, not expensive at all. Japan is also one of those countries where, like, obviously you're not a Japanese citizen. This doesn't work for you, but like, it is one of those countries where you quite literally, where the government literally is like, please, we will pay you to have a house in the rural areas. Like, please go and rebuild this house. It's $1. Please just live there. We beg you. Please, please, please. You can have a whole ass house. Anything not to have immigrants, I guess, except that is also loosening as well. Japan now literally has like immigrant visas. Like, they are way, way more fucking open to well, at least wealthy immigrants. They are suffering from their unimaginable amounts of xenophobia. That's why their fucking population is just old as shit. Ain't nobody's fucking. Anyway, let's get
Word.
back.
While in office, he never did play golf, nor was he seen at any parties. He attended studiously to governance, and though he died of cancer before his promise to the nation could be realized, Ikeda's policies doubled Japan's national income in just 7
Which country not open to rich immigrants law? Japan was not open to any immigrants, rich or poor. No, Japan was like, dude, Japan is straight up racist, okay? I don't know how to explain it to you. Like, there's no other way to describe it. Americans can't comprehend this because they're not white. So they're like, what do you mean? Only white people have the capacity to be racist. Like, no, like, a lot of countries are racist, but Japan is like extra racist, okay? It is literally an ethno state. People try to be like, oh no, what are you talking about? The Japanese population is quite diverse. It's like, no, it's not. It's like 98% Japanese, bro. It is incredibly fucking racist. You will not believe the price of this house in Japan. Landlord TikTok in Japan.
I'm going to find out how hard it is to buy a house in Japan. Today, the median house in California costs $830K. This is what the median house in California looks like. When I learned that Japan lets foreigners buy and sell property with the same rights and taxes as its own citizens, I became curious what $830K might buy in Japan. So, I'm here to find out. This is the city of Sendai, famous for its cherry blossoms. Less than 2 hours from Tokyo by bullet train. The streets are beautiful, and the people are kind.
I don't recommend this.
Can you explain what you mean with racist? Like, no, just straight up xenophobic. Like, that's it. Ask white people living in Japan their experiences, and they will tell you, like, there are so many places where you just simply cannot rent if you're a white person, okay? It's just like, I don't know how else to describe it other than that's just straight up racism.
Store called Teacher.
Okay.
Teeth.
The next store price expensive. Okay. Oh.
Yes.
They save teeth, and they have tongue restaurants and wiener coffee. Their spotless subways take you everywhere in class. Try to imagine finding upholstered seats on a subway in the US. So, I assumed the real estate here would be expensive. I went to look at this house, which was built in 1979 and fully renovated in 2021. It's 1,300 square feet on a 2,500 square foot lot, and it's beautiful.
Which is pretty fucking big for Japanese standards.
Asking price is $129,000. And when I asked the agent if an offer of $100K would be reasonable, he nodded enthusiastically. So, for the cost of the median house in California, you can buy 8 of this house in Japan, plus this van downstairs and 2 wiener coffees.
Yeah, this guy is a fucking landlord who, like, I've seen these videos. I saw another video that he posted before. He deleted it, I think. He deletes his videos. This motherfucker is like... this motherfucker is literally like... new school colonist, basically. He's obviously comparing California to a smaller city, though. Also, they obviously have way lesser income compared to us. Yes.
years, but his most lasting legacy was his abandonment of the LDP's platform of constitutional revision. Article 9 would stay. Japan would not remilitarize. But not everyone celebrated Ikeda's achievements. Kishi, for one, lamented the move away from constitutional revision, while many LDP members decried his administration in general as do-nothing, a critique Ikeda seemed to embrace. As his close confidant and future Prime Minister Kiichi Miyazawa recalled, the issue was not what policies should be followed, but how policies should be decided in the Diet. And this issue was not really a joking matter. In America or Britain, this how has been decided as the result of a long history and centuries of tradition. It might take Japan many more years to get to that point. Ikeda's attitude was that, in order to promote the healthy development of parliamentary democracy, the Conservative Party, but also the progressive parties as well, should exercise a bit more self-control. By nature, the younger the democracy, the more difficult and delicate this exercise of democratic leadership.
Here, look.
In Japan. This is Kyoto, Japan's capital for over 1,000 years.